back to the Sensible Mama podcast. My name is Paulina Westcott. I am your host. Before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share it with a friend that you think may enjoy it. And with no further ado, we're just going to jump right in. My guest today is Libby Cutkomp, and she is a mom of two. We're going to talk about all sorts of things. She has very interesting stories to share. The major thing we're going to cover is NICU, which is a tough topic, perhaps, but I think it's important to cover, and I'm really excited to learn everything you're going to teach us today. So yeah, go ahead, say a few words about yourself, and then we'll just dive right in.
Yeah. Hi. So like you said, I'm a mom of two. I went through in vitro fertilization to get those two beautiful babies. My first child was born at full term with minimal complications. He did swallow meconium, so he needed IV antibiotics for a few days, but we didn't have a NICU stay because it was April 2020, so it was like the height of COVID.
I was curious about that. Does that mean that like they were just very selective about who was going to NICU at the time?
Believe so. So they kept him in our room, gave him antibiotics in the NICU, and then brought him back. So I don't think they considered it a NICU stay
Okay, fair
when he
enough.
was roomed with us. But our story for our second birth is hard, and I wanted to share it in a way that helps other parents feel more prepared and less alone. So it definitely wasn't what I imagined. At 31 weeks, I woke up bleeding profusely. Everything happened really quickly. I drove myself to the hospital. My husband didn't make it back in time because he was dropping my son off at preschool.
Goodness.
It was crazy. When I arrived, my blood pressure was super, super low. They put an oxygen mask on me. They started cutting off my shirt. I knew I was in for it at that point.
Oh, wow.
And within an hour, I was alone and she was in the world. And in that
Holy moly.
quiet, overwhelming moment, I found out her gender and I named her.
That is wild. I can't even imagine myself in that scenario. What did you feel? What were you thinking? Like, how did you cope with that?
I didn't know I was going to have a baby that day. I thought I was just going to get checked out. So I thought it was going to be okay and I would go home. And once I realized I was having a baby, it was just kind of adrenaline that took over. Yeah, there was this really kind anesthesiologist that kind of subbed in as a doula, like my pseudo husband, and stayed right with me and didn't let me be alone. And yeah, so I was not alone during that experience.
I mean, I guess you also didn't have a whole lot of time. You said an hour. That's an hour from the time you showed up at the hospital?
Yeah, to the time she was born.
I guess there's not a whole lot of time to react. It's just do the next step and go to the next place and experience the next experience,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and I've spoken with some people that say, I was surprised you were able to have your baby at Bristol Hospital at 31 weeks. But to be honest, not to be morbid, I don't think we would have made it to another hospital at that
Mm,
point. So, it was pretty dire situation and they saved our lives. So I'm super grateful.
wow. Now, if I may ask, what were you planning? Like, what was your sort of vision for your birth in an ideal
So
scene?
it wasn't a natural birth. I was hoping to have an epidural and to go through like a standard medical birth, but I had had a vaginal birth with my son and it was a
Mm,
really good experience and I wanted to do that again with my daughter. And that was definitely not on the table.
yeah, wow.
So it was one of the scariest moments of my life, but it was the start of our journey of resiliency for sure.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow.
But things obviously didn't go as planned. My daughter was in respiratory distress failure. She was super premature. She only weighed 3 pounds, 6 ounces. We needed NICU care for her. And the hospital I drove to didn't have NICU, which I didn't realize not all hospitals have NICU.
So
So
I
I was
didn't know that
really
until
scared.
literally you and I spoke. I was like, I just kind of assumed if if it's a hospital where you can deliver a baby, then to me, it just logically followed that there must be a NICU.
That's what I would have assumed too. So it's something that I would implore moms to consider if it's a backup plan to go to a hospital, or if you're planning to have a baby at a hospital, research whether or not that hospital has NICU, what level NICU there are. There's levels 1 through 4. They support different needs for babies. Hospital we were in didn't have one, so we were stabilized and individually transferred. And thank goodness they were able to transfer me to the same hospital as they transferred her to,
My
which
goodness, could you
they didn't
imagine?
do. Yeah, and I was
Yeah,
grateful for that. But
that's wild. How
yeah,
soon, like how long after she was delivered did you guys get transferred?
within a couple hours, she was desperately in need to get to a NICU. So she was moved first. She was moved probably within 2 or 3 hours, and I was moved within 3 or 4 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So it happened
What
pretty
an
quick.
ordeal. Like you wake up one morning and you're just there being pregnant, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly all of this is happening within the course of hours, not even a day,
Yes.
like hours.
Yes. It
Wild.
was a literal whirlwind. Um, yeah. So the first couple days are a blur. And I didn't get that golden hour like I did with my son. But I'll never forget the first time I held her at 7 days old. I had to wait 7 whole days. And she felt impossibly small, but still undeniably strong. And that moment carried me through so many like anxious nights and long days. So that's the short and sweet version of my second birth story.
That is wild. Yeah. So I have so many questions because so like I'm a home birth mama, right? The world
Yeah.
of hospital births is all secondhand to me. Like I'm learning so much talking to, my guests on my podcast and various other moms and stuff. But the NICU experience is brand new. Like, um, I'll keep it sort of vague for the sake of the privacy, but I had my first doula client actually earlier this month, and it was we had to get transferred to the hospital. I say I was just with her. I didn't get to have to go to the hospital. And even like the baby was not in terrible shape. There was an issue and she needed some help, but like overall she pulled through. It was less than 48 hours that they were in the hospital, but just the sight of a baby in that little, I don't know what it's called, the little bed
It's an
with the link.
isolate.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unnerving. It's
And
almost
all of the tubes
foreign.
coming out of her and the little stickers that are measuring her heart and her this and her respiration and the beeping and the lights. And I was like, I had never experienced that before. And it caught me off guard a little bit, the impact that it had on me, because it's this baby. And this was a full term, fairly large, chunky baby. Like it like hits you. And I can imagine, goodness, a 3-pound baby hooked up to all these machines. I literally can't even picture what that would look like or feel like. Like that's
Yeah.
wild.
It's like a sci-fi movie, but it's unbelievable what they're able to do to save these babies too. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. And the camaraderie we had in the NICU was amazing. I made so many mom friends with
Mm.
the other moms of babies in the NICU, and friends with doctors and nurses. It was a really weird and wonderful time in our lives. It was
Yeah.
strange.
How long were you guys there?
49 days.
Whoa.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
49 days. Do you kind of get into the groove eventually? Like, does it kind of fall into a rhythm, or is it all every day is just as hard?
Sadly, you do. It weirdly does. You get into a routine and you get to know people, and you get to know who's on day shift and who's on night shift, and what people's schedules are like, and you get to know people's personalities. It's Yeah. And you get into a routine of going to rounds to learn about your baby from all the doctors and the nurses, and then attending care times and um, participating in care. And it's weird to almost ask permission to touch your baby and participate in care with your baby, but it's almost sometimes necessary because they're so tiny and fragile.
Absolutely. So let's say there's a mom listening who is planning an ordinary, uneventful, uncomplicated birth. Like there's no reason to believe that anything is going to go awry. To that mama, what would you recommend she do in terms of preparation? Like I always say, for a home birth, pack a hospital bag. You
Yeah,
probably won't need it. Most likely, you're not going to need it. My
yeah,
analogy, though, is it's better to be prepared. When you get into the car, you put on your seatbelt. You never get in the car and you're like, today's the day I'm getting into an accident. Let me make sure my seatbelt is on. You know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous.
100%.
But every time you get into your car, you put on your seatbelt. Why? Because in the event that the worst case scenario happens, you have prepared yourself to the best of your ability, right? Home births, pack a hospital bag. It doesn't have to be anything exorbitant. You don't have to go crazy. You don't have to bring fairy lights to the hospital. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's fine. But like, have your important paperwork there. Have your a change of clothes. Have your charger and a chapstick. Like whatever.
Right.
Like, there's a
Something.
couple
Yeah.
things. Same thing now, and this is now in retrospect. I didn't do this, but I'm learning now with C-sections. Let's say you're planning a hospital birth, vaginal, medicated or unmedicated, doesn't matter. You should do the research on C-sections just to have yourself ready in the event that it happens. It's not that you're planning on it, whatever. But like, you should know what to ask for. There's different anesthetics that you can ask for. They have different effects. There's different sutures you can ask for. They have different, ramifications. And now, with you as my guest, I'm learning that the same thing goes for NICU. It doesn't mean that you're planning to have a baby stay in the NICU, but there are probably some things that you should do or can do that just ask the questions, get yourself ready in the event that it happens. And if you don't need it, yay. If you do, you'll be happy
Yeah.
you prepared, right? Sorry, that was
Absolutely.
a really long rant, but with
No.
that intro, what would you recommend a mom that is having an uncomplicated, very normal pregnancy? What should she know or ask about the NICU?
Yeah, so I would totally encourage you to have a conversation with your doula, your provider, about what if scenarios. For example, if I need a C-section, how can you support me? Or if my baby needs the NICU, what role can you play for me and my partner? These are not easy topics, but having that discussion ahead of time can make you feel so much less alone if it does come up. The other thing I would talk about is hospital choice matters. I wish I had known to ask if my preferred hospital had a NICU. I don't know if it would have made a difference in the end in my choice. Um, the hospital did a wonderful job delivering my daughter and they saved our lives. But it's just something to consider that not every hospital has a NICU.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the energy, doing a little gentle research on, like you said, C-sections and NICU basics can also be empowering. To scare you, but just to empower you. God forbid you need that information. You
Absolutely.
don't have to become an expert for every possibility, but just having some of that familiarity takes away the fear if you're suddenly faced with it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, even with a regular, uneventful, I keep saying regular birth. I mean, every birth is completely different and they're wild and there isn't anything, I don't think a boring birth exists. I don't think that's a thing.
Yeah.
But regular in the sense of uncomplicated, right? Like, even when you're having an uncomplicated pregnancy and you're planning an uncomplicated birth, for me, it was very helpful to learn about the things that I was afraid of. Like, for me, I was like, the cord around the neck. I don't know if it's movies, Hollywood, I don't know where I got this idea, but since I was a kid, I'm like, if a baby is born with a cord around the neck, it's the end of the world. And it's
Yeah.
really, really not, but I didn't know that until I started looking into it. And I was like, okay, so what do you do in that event, right?
Right.
And then I learned in most cases, you go like this, and that's the end of it. You
That's
know what I mean?
amazing.
And there's so many other things like that, but like the things that you're afraid of, the things that you feel like you're not you don't have under your own control, those are the things you should research. Like, I don't know, there's so many, and you can go down the rabbit hole, you can make yourself crazy with all the things that could go wrong, but like, but if there's something that is just on your mind and it's weighing on you, look into it, and you'll find that most emergencies, there's actually time. Like, it's not like they see, the medical professional sees something and then it's instantaneously a disaster. There are very, very few scenarios that are like that, right? Some are hours, some are days, and some are even weeks. Sometimes there's like an emergency type situation and they're like, you're on bed rest and you have to keep your feet up, and that's the solution. But you don't know this until you start looking into it.
Correct. Most of the NICU moms I connected with had knowledge that they were going to be having their baby ahead of time and they were going to have a NICU stay ahead of time, and they were able to do stuff like receive steroid shots ahead of time to help with lung development. So they had pre-warnings because they had symptoms of preeclampsia or something like that. So there are situations where like this builds up and you have an understanding that this is going to happen. It's not always, like you said, an hour and you have a baby. This is a unique scenario.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful that I have the opportunity to speak with you, because yours is one of the more extreme, scenarios. And so it kind of gives a full gamut of what are the things that you wish you had known. One thing you had mentioned was the different levels of NICU. Can you speak on that? Like, what does that mean?
Yeah, so I can't speak to it with great knowledge, but I can tell you my daughter was in a level 3 NICU, which means that she needed support with breathing. Level 1 and level 2 can take care of up to a certain gestation period. So I believe I don't even want to cite how many weeks it is. But there's level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. I think CCMC is level 4. Our hospital is level 3. And I'm not even sure if we have any level 1 or level 2 around us. I think they're mostly level 3 and level 4 if they require NICU. Um, but yeah, the other thing I would impart on parents is babies are strong, and parents find strength they didn't know they had. So please don't let my story scare you. I got through it and I found strength to really get through this and to find help to help people on the other side of this too.
I love that. This is the amazing thing, is like, and it's probably most moms, but all the moms that I have the pleasure of having, guest on my podcast, you guys are so resilient. Like, the things that moms go through, and like I said before, like, birth is not boring. It is not uneventful. If you gave birth, as far as I'm concerned, in any way, you're a superhero, because that's some intense stuff. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, oh, you home birthed, you're so brave. And I'm like,
That's
yeah, but
amazing.
some people do C-sections. They went through a major surgery to bring their baby in the world. That's wild. That's like wild to me.
That's amazing too.
Scary. And anyway, but like, I think that it is a trial. And it's like what's the word I'm looking for? It's a rite of passage almost into motherhood. You know what I mean? Like, you go through something, and there's always a moment, no matter how you labor, no matter what your birth looks like, where you're like, what am I doing? Can I do this?
Yes.
Am I gonna make it? Can I make this baby come out of my body and like be okay? And it doesn't matter if like you're birthing in a birth center or in a hospital or in a C-section or a home birth, like that some version of that seems to always happen, right? And for some it's much more extreme and much more medical, and for others it's just a seriously emotional, trial. But we all go through this challenging experience, and
Yes.
it's a shared experience despite its diversity of how we all go through it. But at the end of it, we become like super mom. No matter how you brought your baby into the world, like you said, you find strength that you didn't know you had. The mama bear, phenomenon grows in you, and you find courage and passion and love and care. And for the people that have gone through some like seriously challenging things, so many of them turn around and they're like, good, I'm going to take that really crappy experience and I'm going to take that knowledge and everything that I went through. I'm going to help other moms that may go through the same thing. And that is just like, who does that? Super moms. Super moms are who does that.
That's what I want to do. That's my goal. So yeah, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I love that. So what other advice would you give to a mom that is either planning a NICU, baby or may come upon it unplanned?
Unplanned. So there are some amazing resources I've come across as unfortunately after our NICU stay. Hand to Hold is a nonprofit organization whose mission it is to provide early intervention and mental health support, education, and community for NICU and bereaved parents before, during, and after a NICU stay. I
Mm.
actually volunteer as a peer mentor for this organization. There's over 200 peer mentors across America, so it's a free program for any parent in the NICU, and you can request a peer mentor. You tell them a little bit, you fill out a form, you tell them a little bit about your situation, and they match you with somebody who has a very similar story. And they provide one-on-one support. They also have support groups. Dear NICU Mama is another great resource. They're a nonprofit organization founded in 2019 by a former NICU mom or former NICU mamas. They offer a private Facebook support group and virtual resources like podcasts, monthly virtual support groups, and then letters of hope. And then I've written one of those letters of hope.
Wow.
So I think those are two really good resources for parents who are faced with NICU. And if they find themselves in that situation and they find this podcast, I hope they use those as resources.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to link them in the description too, so that if people are looking for that, they can find that easily.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm trying to think, like there's so much to know, and I don't want to get into necessarily all of the nitty-gritty details of NICU, but like the big picture, what's it like? Like how do we tell mamas about it? Not to scare them, but to sort of give reassurance that it's a normal part of, what happens sometimes.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is you have to trust the people that work there and trust that they are wonderful, amazing human beings that care deeply about your children, and work tirelessly, like really long hours, to care for babies, probably some of the most fragile babies in the world. So I think that it's a really scary situation, and nothing can prepare you for leaving the hospital without your baby, or for being in a postpartum room and being alone and hearing the sound of other babies and knowing your baby is not accessible. Your baby's down the hall in NICU. But knowing that your baby is in incredibly capable hands makes all the difference in the world. So,
I mean,
trusting
and
professionals.
yeah, and I'm sure you build relationships with these people. Like you were even during your birth, you were talking about this anesthesiologist who just made sure that you were not feeling alone and not afraid and so forth. Like find your people. If you have a doula, if you have a husband that you can prepare, and it depends on the personality of the husband. Of course, some of them are more equipped, emotionally and mentally to handle these kinds of situations than others, but certainly finding yourself somebody who's grounding, I'm sure helps. Somebody who is a voice of reason when you're panicking, right?
Yes, and these NICU nurses are incredible. I mean, I have this file folder right here to my right of arts and crafts that they would make of my daughter's footprints, and
Oh,
like she's made it to 4 pounds today. Congratulations, with a little handprint. So they care deeply and they make like treasures for you to keep and remember, because they know you can't make those memories at home, and so they try to make up for that.
that's wonderful. The people that go into the field of birth work, I try very hard. Like I said, I'm a home birth mom. I try very hard not to bash the medical professionals because they are wonderful people and they are there when they are needed. And in a scenario like yours, thank God they were there
Thank God.
because
Yeah.
They, like that's the exact, if I was in your shoes, of course I would go to a hospital. Of course I would seek medical help because that's a situation where you genuinely need it. I think that some births are over medicalized, and it doesn't have to be that way in many scenarios.
I'm sure.
But that said, like the people that go into this profession are not people who hate humankind. I mean, they are the people that are helping bring life into this world. Like, find the people that resonate with you, find the people that you can connect with, and the ones that are going to help you through whatever your situation looks like, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anything else that you would want to impart to mamas with regards to the NICU?
Gosh, no. Not to be afraid. Don't let it be stigmatized. It's a wonderful place. It's sometimes necessary. It's not scary. Um, it's life saving. It saved my daughter's life. So I really am incredibly appreciative for everyone who had a role to play in saving my daughter's life in those 49 days. She received round the clock care, and I couldn't have done it myself.
Makes sense. Yeah. How old is your daughter now?
She's 2 and she's thriving. She's chatting up a storm. Yeah. I'm surprised you can't hear her in the other room.
That's awesome. That's the other thing is like you mentioned letters of hope, and I'm like, sometimes we go through things and in the thick of it, it seems impossible. Everything seems completely impossible, right? Like, I can't do this. I can't make it. I'm not strong enough. I'm not good enough. I mean, goodness, self-doubt for moms, right? Like, it's normal. It's a part of the whole experience. But there are moments where it's really, really intense, right? And that for me, like different experiences, but when I get into a moment of self-doubt, the thing that helps me is knowing that other people have made it through. You
Yes.
know, other people have done this before me. Other people were strong enough. I can find the strength within me to also be one of those people that survives this ordeal, whatever the ordeal may be, however intense it is, if it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, I don't know, like whatever it is. Other people have suffered through whatever you're suffering through, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is hope on the other end, and you just
Yeah.
have to remind yourself of that. Like, this is not forever. Whatever it is, and no matter how bad it is, it'll end, and then you're going to figure out a way to carry on regardless of the outcome, regardless of what happens. Like, you have the strength within you, and you have to remind yourself that it's there.
Those letters of hope. I think they're so powerful. And every once in a while, I still read one and it resonates with me deeply. 2 years later, it's amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that, like, you talk about this and you're smiling. I'm noticing, it's not something that left you damaged, it seems.
I think it did leave me damaged, but I've done a lot of work.
So tell me about that. What did you do to sort of, help yourself get through it and
So I
recover?
did a lot of therapy. I did a lot of EMDR. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's eye movement rapid desensitization. It's a form of therapy where you really quickly process trauma. And so I processed my daughter's birth. It was quite a traumatic experience, as I'm sure you can imagine.
Sure.
um, and I did a lot of work on it, and it's now a story I can tell where it feels like I'm watching a movie and it's depersonalized and it's still my own story, but it's not as scary and it's not terrifying.
I mean, it's evidenced by the fact that as you're telling it, you do have a smile on your face, and you're not, it didn't break you, it seems.
No, it definitely didn't break me. It made me stronger in the end,
That's
for sure.
amazing. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah, so great. I don't think I have any specific other questions about the NICU experience, unless you have anything else to share particularly.
I don't think so, no. Thank you for having me. I so appreciate it.
Absolutely. Any other closing thoughts? Any words of wisdom you'd like to share with mamas listening out there?
Gosh, Gosh, no, I don't think so. I just think no matter what happens, know that you're not alone and your love is the most important medicine. It's more important than any medicine any doctor has to offer.
I can vouch for that. That is the truth. All right, well, I think we've covered everything. So we'll end off here. And for anybody else who, if you have any questions or you want to look up those resources, would you mention those websites one more time? And I'll also throw them down in the description.
Yeah, so Hand to Hold and Dear NICU Mama.
Awesome. Yeah, okay, good. So thank you so much for coming today. And I'll see you guys all in the next episode.